too long. I'm just setting up the streaming. Okay, thanks for the patience. It's now streaming and we can begin. Professor Nedeljković, I give you the word.
Thank you. Yesterday I promised to talk about a few more inscriptions. Actually, I decided in the meantime to talk about only one epitaph. It's from Bulgaria, and I'll show it to you now. The image, my screen should have gone full screen now. I hope you see the map on the left side of your screens and the photo of an inscription on the right side. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. In the early years of the 20th century, the remains of a Roman mausoleum were discovered in northern Bulgaria, near the location of the ancient town of Melka, modern Lovech. You can see the yellow spot on the map. That's it. It was a square-based structure with thick walls, built of large blocks of limestone. In the eastern wall, there was a doorway framed with two pillars on the outside. Of the architrave, an inscribed fragment remains, which tells that the mausoleum belonged to a woman called Matrona and her husband. Indeed, beneath the northern wall, two pedestals were found, together with headless fragments of two statues, a male and a female figure. The interior of the mausoleum was a square room, with the ceiling decorated in relief. Of the marble pieces, of the marble plates that one covered the walls, one is preserved, bearing an inscription which may well not have been the only one. And there was another room below, the hypogeum, in which stood at least 3 sarcophagi. The inscription from the upper room of the mausoleum is a marble tabula ansata broken into pieces, but preserved up to more than a half of its original size. Today it is to be found at Sofia in the Archaeological Museum, although as far as I know it is not on display. This photo is from Gerov's Inscriptiones Latine in Bulgaria Repair. The bigger left-hand part of the stone consists of 4 contingent fragments with two more pieces reaching the right-hand border and the upper right corner of the inscriptional field. The right-hand fragment has been photoshopped here, so it appears twice on my photograph. The upper position here is where it should stand. There are 15 lines of text in Latin. The preserved portion amounting to more than 2/3 of the original extent. The carving is equal, and the letters read well, despite their being rather small and occasionally ligature. We are reading now from the photographs given by Gale. This is the epitaph of a young female. At the age of 14 is mentioned in lines 3 to 4. It's here, 14 years. Her parents were alive at the time of her death. Line 14 and also line 5. She was married. There's marito in line 10. And also perhaps in line 3 here. This last observation, that she was married, becomes remarkable in view of the phrase mea virginitas in line 12. Through the use of virgo to refer to a young married woman is not entirely strange to the language of Latin poetry. The same thing happens in plain Latin with the word puella. It can mean, and it easily means, a young married woman. But the actual term, virginitas, does by all accounts imply and mean virginity. Its present occurrence then will not only call for an explanation, but could also serve as a clue. Clues indeed are much needed if we are to advance beyond isolated remarks towards a veritable reading of the epitaph. This has not been fully achieved, despite several good observations and a valuable attempt at restitution by Sir, the French archaeologist, who first described the mausoleum and read the inscription. Of this text, Sir admitted that no proper translation could be given, which is why he chose to set out its meaning in rather wide terms. According to his explanation, the daughter of Matrona and husband died at the age of 14, having been engaged to a man, but yet unmarried, or more probably married so shortly before her death that she hadn't had time to become a man's woman. Whence the kind of consolation she now offers to her husband. Let his grief be calm, always. Here. Since he will have done better without the joys of a union which would have left him regretting his loss. Here. The rest of the epitaph Sir deemed to be all pedals and banalities. Death was particularly cruel to the deceased in verse 4. Yeah. mostly said. She died among the first of her generation, inter primas, and did not live to fulfill the last duty to her parents. Ne pia esse patri nec matri posse. But destiny's verdicts can only be recognized for what they are. Parta potest quis rumpe. Her young husband will also die one day. Tuas cideris aurea terra pes. Fashion-wise, this whole composition would be a center of lines and outlines that are found elsewhere in funerary poetry. These would have been forced into an awkward unity, inconsistencies of syntax and meter, bearing witness to the prose. Sir also seems to assume that at least two mistakes were made by the stonemason. Florenti caro, for caro florente in verse 3. The difference is here. Line 3 and verse 3 differ in this respect. And then in verse 7, there is a supposed omission of the word inter. Inter primas satiavi pata superba. Here. The general picture drawn by Sir must be true. It looks probable that the parents of the deceased were the same persons who owned the mausoleum. And I'm convinced by what Sir suspected of the girl's marriage too. That when it comes to details, his restitution of the epitaph does not seem wholly acceptable, and more importantly, his understanding of some of the preserved portions was arguably wrong. I propose then to reopen the file and look for more insight into the form and meaning of this epitaph. The beginning of the inscription goes along with no less than 6 epitaphs from Bucela's collection, the CLE, Carmine Latina Tigrani. All of these are from Italy and all stood on children's graves, the eldest being a girl of 15. None were married. In all cases, the initial distich draws the attention of the passerby to the fact that the deceased had been given life under one outrageous condition, that of dying soon. The second distich always contains a sentence amounting to this: having lived for n years, I died at the age of n+1. And always the child was about to step up to his or her next year of age. The verb used is scandere, or one of its compounds. But then death came, which event is invariably referred to as giving up the ghost, animam deponere. It appears that the author of our epitaph not only understood this cliché properly, but also felt he could improve on it. He replaced the tu quid formula in verse 1 with another conventional interpolation, which not only scanned more easily, but also permitted him to drop the hypothesis to F at the beginning of verse 2 and use lege, the right word, to fill up the first decade. Similar consideration seems to lie behind the substitute he gave from quam indigne. Quam dure, how cruel, clearly preserved the sense by giving even more relief to the original idea. The adverb dure was distinctly unpoetical, but it was again the right word. The first distich, then, appears to show that whoever wrote the epitaph had a conscious approach to the model he had chosen. The quest for the right word gives the impression of someone who may have been no wizard of Latin verse, but certainly knew what he was doing, as he aimed to produce a meaningful text on the stone. The second distich is where my reading begins to part from Sir's. The photograph reads ipsum, not ipso, here and here. There seems to be no way out of taking this ipsum to look forward to annum in line 4, with ipsum marcebam in decimum quartum annum. I take it that instead of following the cliché closely by saying, I lived for 13 years and died as I became 14, our epitaph has it this way: I withered all along, marcebam, to my 14th year of age. Marcebam suggests a lingering illness. It appears that the girl was chronically feeble. Note the imperfect tense, which leaves us yet expecting until the perfect comes with the point. Mors misera fui. I met a ferocious death. The words ipsum in decimum quartum annum make it seem that she died on her 14th birthday. The verb marcere stands here in obvious contrast to what comes immediately after it. Florenti, line 3 and verse 3, was taken by Sir to be part of an ablative absolute, caro florente marito. And the actual wording florenti caro marito had to be a mistake, one way or another. But the real question is one of purpose. Why should we be told specifically that while the poor girl was ill, her husband was healthy? Is it all about mentioning the fact of their marriage? This cannot be the only motive, since the husband reappears in line 10 anyway. It's here. Assuming that the phrase Florenti caro marito is correct as it reads, nothing prevents us from taking Florenti as a dative, not ablative, and the text seems to make enough sense. The dative would be one of advantage or disadvantage, to be taken with marcebam. I withered before the eyes of my dear husband, the vigorous man. This will still be the sort of truism we have wondered at, but marcebam florenti caro marito can also mean I withered before the eyes of my dear husband, Florence. The sentence then would be aimed at producing a double entendre, and the motive for mentioning the husband's vigor would have been no other than to neatly communicate his name. The possibility of taking Florenti as the husband's name was briefly considered by Sir. Much of what I have to say from this point on should be taken with the same caveat he had, as I will be putting forward a construct largely based on my own suspicion. What is certain, though, is that allusions to and puns on personal names are not uncommon in Latin verse inscriptions. One has only to remember the delightful epitaph of Titus Statilius Aper. It's in Bucera's collection, Cardinal Latina Epigraphica. There you lie, you kind-hearted boy, in Noble's Abbey, stricken not by the Virgin's wrath. I will argue that in the case of our inscription, it is possible to follow this path beyond the one mention of Florence Maritus, verse 3. This will ultimately lead me to the hypothesis that the name game was an important aspect of this epitaph as a whole. At present, however, let me adopt what I should call the order of probability and discuss the least difficult places first, rather than proceed line by line. The text, as we have it, admits the conclusion that the epitaph ended with two distinct messages to the living. Here. The first began with Te que rogo at line 11. Here. And the other was the one which has the words Ego nunc moneo genitores at line 14. The verses 12 to 14, that is lines 11 to 30 here. I propose the following reading with supplement. Te que rogo comes, doleat tibi pulcra futura, quod mea virginitas mortalis omno sepultas. Isque tuas cineres aurea terra fedat. And I beseech you, my life's companion, to feel sorry that my virginity, which was about to become full of beauty, now lies overcome by the sleep of death. And may it, that is the sleep of death, once cover your own ashes with earth of gold. The image of someone's ashes being covered with golden earth is known again from Bucola's collection. Quisque uic tumulo posuit ardente lucerna, in lius cineres aurea terra fedas. The idea is that the goodness of whoever makes the grave shine with light should once be rewarded with a burial shimmering with gold. In our case, the original motivation is disappeared, but the wish remains. May the husband once receive a burial equal to his loyalty and grief. The term comes in the epitaph. Yeah. Typically refers to wives rather than husbands. This particular detail puts a mark of inferiority on the person of the husband here. Which sort of inferiority, one can only guess. But we may relate this to the observation that the healthy young man, Florence, had married a sick daughter of wealthy parents, and that notwithstanding the marriage, the girl's burial took place in her parents' mausoleum. The other message goes to the parents of the deceased. Oh. The lacuna in line 13 here cannot contain both the ending on verse 14 and the whole first half of verse 15. The caesura of verse 15 comes then between moneo and the genitores. Here, this is the caesura of the line of the hexameter. Consequently, the next lacuna, the one in line 14, yeah, occupies such a position that the subsequent rompere nemo in line 15 cannot possibly be the ending of verse 15. Again, these words cannot constitute the beginning of verse 16 since there does not seem to be room enough for verse 16 to stretch out thereafter. It is therefore necessary to take the words rompere nemo as belonging to the second hemistic of verse 16, to be supplied with a final word which must have stood in line 15 here, at roughly the same distance from nemo as is the one between nemo and the foregoing rompere, here on the photograph here. Now, if the final hemistic begins with a dactylic word, then it must be the latter part of a pentameter, and we shall have to supply an iambic word at the end, while the first half of the pentameter must be covered by the lacuna in line 14. Here. I propose then to read verses 15 through 16 as follows. Vosque nunc moneo genitores, patorum legem rompere nemo popes. And I remind you, to my parents, no one can break the law of destiny. The beginning of the hexameter, verse 15, is easily restored, vosque being parallel to the beginning of the first message, teque. For the rest, vosque nunc moneo, I refer once again to an epitaph from Buchanan. This, however, is the point where the calculation we attempted a moment ago yields one significant result. If verse 16 is to begin immediately after genitores, then verse 15 must be an unfinished hexameter line. Vosque nunc moneo genitores. The hexameter misses the clausula. Unfinished lines of verse are not uncommon in the inscriptions and cannot always be reduced to errors committed by stonemasons. Nevertheless, our verse 15 might be an instance of this type. The carving of the epitaph is such that the letters become more and more condensed as the text goes on. But then suddenly there comes a point where the carver realizes that there is more than enough space for the remaining text, after which he expands the content of the last line rather widely, as is clearly seen on the photograph. It may be conjectured that the sudden appearance of extra space was due to omission of text, the omitted segment being the original ending of verse 15. This could have contained text which was both omissible without crippling the sentence and susceptible to being left out by a saut du même, something like this. Vosque nunc moneo genitores vosque parentes. The word parentes would have meant not parents but relatives, a sense not uncommon in post-classical and later Latin usage. But since parentes and the genitores could also be and usually were synonyms, the omission here would have been caused by both the form and the meaning of the two words. Serves restitution of the segment going from line 9, abim pia fata, to line 11, reliqui, develops the theme of the unconsumed marriage and at the same time provides a miniature account of the immediate circumstances that led to the girl's death. Serres supplements, however, fall short of conviction. No matter how we understand the phrase thalamus reliqui, it is difficult to conceive an action being performed by the agent reluctantly after her death, post mortem in vita. As for the clause expected after dissertata die ut, with reliqui we are rather badly served. Serre explained this away by supposing then that the entire verse 11 was adopted from some model in which the verb stood correctly in the indicative. It looks more natural to satisfy the ut by supplying a verb in the lacuna that covers the end of line 9 and take the subsequent thalamus reliqui as the main clause. The text could then run like this: abim pia fata dissertata die, ut mimis essem blanda marito, crudeles thalamus post mordia cessum reliqui. On a day that wicked fate had chosen for me to be overly charming to my husband, ut mimis essem blanda marito, I passed away from the cruel bedroom, crudeles thalamus reliqui, after an onset of disease, post morbium cessum. It would seem that the marriage went unconsumed until the fateful day, which may have been her 14th birthday, on which the girl decided or agreed to satisfy her husband. This effort on her part provoked an accessus morbi, an acute aggravation of her chronic disease. And the couple's thalami, that is, their attempt to consume their marriage, proved so cruelly wrong that it resulted in the girl's death. Restitution along these lines is suggested primarily by the repeated mention of the husband now taking part in an event which was brought about by fate and caused the girls leaving the cruel bedroom. But there may be more to it. There is the story of Atalanta and Hippomenes, famously told by Ovid in Metamorphoses 10. The couple meet their fate after Hippomenes is overcome by an untimely desire for sex in the temple of Cybele. Atalanta, however, had been aware, ever since her girlhood, that her marriage someday would bring misfortune. Prior to the fateful race that would make her Hippomenes' wife, she tries to dissuade him by delivering an impeccable piece of oratory, the sum of which is this: Dum licet hospes abi. Stranger, go while you can. Thalamosque relinque cruentus. And leave the bloody bedroom. Connugium crudele meum. Marriage with me is a cruel thing. I believe that this line of Ovid was the model for the crudeles thalamus relinquere in our epic. The author appears to have used the very words that he found in the best-known literary version of a myth whose central motive, lovemaking at the wrong time, closely corresponded to the real case he was illustrating. From his point of view, the fact that Ovid's thalamus relinquere now described a very different reality, not the act of shying away from a marriage, but one of dying in the marital bed, was a legitimate and agreeable fact of the transference he had made. The central part of the epitaph begins with the old and much favored topos of the natural order of human deaths reversed. The girl died too early to be able to bury her own parents. Sig disceptarum fata ne pia esse patri, nec matri ven. There's a lacuna and a few letters that I cannot understand as any word. Pia femine cast. Fate decided that I should never perform the last duty to my father or my mother, a pious and virtuous woman. There is some interest in the occurrence of discettare here and again later in verse 10. This verb seems entirely absent from Bucerel's collection of epitaphs. In this respect, the verse inscriptions comply with the usage of high poetry, in which neither discettare nor discettatio is anywhere to be found. What is more, our epitaph has the unpoetic discettare in a derived meaning, which, while attested in classical Latin prose, belong to the judiciary administrative jargon, based on the primary sense of looking into and arbitrating in a quarrel of lawsuits. It acquired a more general sense of determining, ruling, or deciding. The unexpected occurrence of a word from this register in an epitaph sheds more light on the personal profile of the author, with his apparent belief that the solemnity of what he had to say would be improved with a bit of bureaucraties here and there. He must have been of the half-educated kind. The lacuna in verse 6, which is line 5, and the few letters beyond it are perhaps best left as they stand. Sir's idea was that Temre meant tenere, but such spelling is in fact difficult to account for. Moreover, it would be startling to find the epithet tenera attributed to the mother than to the dead girl herself. The epitaphs often have tenera et, teneri anni, tenerum corpus, tenera membra, to the point that the qualification tener seems virtually reserved for the young deceased. Another hypothesis would be that the mutilated part of line 5 contains the name of the mother. Matrone pia femine cast. So this would be the end of one of her names, and then MRE would function as an abbreviation, a contractive abbreviation. The woman called Matrona would, of course, be the one whose name appears on the architrave of the mausoleum. Still, to take MRE as a contractive abbreviation looks much too forced, the more so as the hedera at the end of the line proves there was no lack of space. With line 6, verse 7, we come to the point where the right-hand fragments of the inscription offer just a few more letters. From line 7 on, only the left part remains, so that any attempt at restitution becomes more difficult and less definitive. A lucky circumstance, though, is that of the verses 8 through 11, the beginnings and endings are preserved. Here is how I read verse 7. Propietate lacrimas satiavi pata superba. Instead of doing the duty of mine, I sated the arrogant fate with tears. With an obvious connection to verses 5 to 6, the girl was forced to give her parents propietate lacrimas, tears instead of pietas. Propietate is a phrase typical of many tomb inscriptions in prose and verse, mostly within the formula propietate posuit, this monument beautifully erected by. The pietas in this phrase is normally the one shown to the dead by the living, but as, on the other hand, the inscriptions very often call the dedicatees pietissimi, it is no wonder that propietate was sometimes taken to mean in return for his or her pietas, referring to the deceased. This sort of shift makes it easier to accept propietate here in the sense that it apparently has, instead of being pia. After propietate lacrimas, one anticipates prestiti, or something like that. What comes instead is an unexpected turn. It looks as if two consecutive ideas had been squeezed together to form an indistinct unity. What would normally be worded like this, parentibus propietate prestiti lacrimas, quibus fata superba satiavi, became propietate lacrimas satiavi fata superba. You say lacrimas fata satiavi, literally I sated tears, instead of using the ablative lacrimas with tears, was not impossible. But the double accusative was an occasional solution for the ever-present dilemma concerning the choice of a direct object for a number of different verbs. Aliquem aliquid nutrire, aliquem aliquem aliquid potare, aliquem aliquid curare. So, with satiavi fata superba, the sentence suddenly turns towards the topic of fatal destiny. The motive for this may appear straightforward. The author of our epitaph simply liked to talk about destiny. He mentions fata 3 times. This, however, does not explain the choice of the other word, satiare, which is unparalleled in the end. Satiare fata, if taken literally, makes for an odd picture. True, if we assume that satiare here means fulfilled, accomplished, realized, a figurative sense occasionally found in late Latin, then satiavi fata would mean I fulfilled my fate by passing away. But the doubt remains whether we can take the verb metaphorically and still allow for the double accusative. The literal interpretation, therefore, looks more probably with a further suspicion that if the author built an awkward sentence around the bizarre expression and did so in the middle of a text for which he was relying on commonplace ideas and ready formulas, he must have had some strong motive to depart from the conventional. Judging by the extant beginning of verse 8, nomine, this segment of the epitaph is where the name of the deceased was given. For this line and the next, I venture to propose the following restitution. Nomine quaesatia genitoria evaresto vocabat, qui nunquam celeratus erat, quod, and so on. I was called Satia by my fathers Evarestus, who had never been wretched until the moment when, so on. This would mean that the oddities of verse 7 were there to prepare the ground for the subsequent pun on the personal name. satiavit, satia. The rest of my supplements is based on the assumption that qui at the beginning of verse 9 refers back to some male person mentioned in verse 8. This person is very probably the father. As already shown, there's a strong possibility that both the husband and the mother of the deceased were mentioned by name in verse 3 and 6 respectively. The father's name now would, so to speak, conclude the list of mourners. Genitori would be a dative of the agent, looking forward to vocabat. My father used to call me Satia. In the epitaphs, the mention of the parents as the callers of the name is often purely conventional. A well-known early example of this is one in Duke 11, in which the name of the deceased is thus introduced nomen parentes nominarum Claudiam. Both this wording and the one I have supplied for our epitaph may appear strange, since a parental couple in which the male partner was a Claudius could not help calling any daughters Claudia. However, other examples suggest that this point should not be pressed too far. Any attempt at filling the lacuna which opens after who never, qui nunquam, has to be based on what comes after the lacuna, the day chosen by fate, etc. The text in its present state still allows us to grasp the general sense. The father has never been as utterly devastated by anything as he is now by his daughter's death. With SC immediately before the lacuna, the choices are few. Qui nunquam sierat leaves us in want of an accusative object. A subordinate clause would be too clumsy for the space, and it is difficult to see how this could be provided without really vexing the idea. On the other hand, sceleratus is a genuine tombstone word, and with qui nunquam sceleratus erat, we come fairly close to the required sense. My next point is about the mere or even faint possibility. Suppose that the supplement I have proposed for verse 9 here is correct. The middle section of the epitaph then reads, I was called, name, by my father, name, who had never been sceleratus until one day, the day that wicked fate had chosen for me to be overly charming to my husband, I passed away from the cruel bedroom after an onset of disease. Now, why should the very natural idea of a father's being shaken by his daughter's death be put in words in such an oblique manner by saying that it had not been devastated before that death? This again is an oddity. Not unlike the two that we have seen previously, the one with hating one's fate, and especially the one with the girls being ill while her husband was healthy, in verse 3. With the supplement, genitorie varesto, in verse 8, I propose to explain this last word as another pun on a personal name. It is conceivable that the girl's father had a cognomen, dubbing the bearer a good man. It is in this sense that he might be called nunquam sceleratus, never wicked. He became sceleratus, wretched, only after he lost his daughter. The pun based on the two meanings of sceleratus is actually attested in one of Marshall's epitaphs. Inscriptions tumulis septem scelerata virorum se fecisse, 'Quid potes implicis. The simplicitas, the candidness of the seven-time widow appears in the fact that the tombs of her husbands are all inscribed with the words Chloe conius scelerata feci. Marshall spun, then aims at scelerata, wicked and also wretched. Let us now look a wider look at the text. Our epitaph seems to consist of three sections. The first, verses 1 through 4, without being purely generic, begins with a cliché, and is marked by the predominance of the conventional. Arrest your horse, traveler. Pay attention to this grave and read under how harsh a condition life was given to me. Before the eyes of my dear husband, Lawrence, I withered all along to my 14th year of age, and I died a horrendous death. The middle section, 5 to 11, concentrates on the specific with an obvious leaning towards the narrative. This is where all the key persons come into sight. Let me emphasize that in making them appear under their names, my intention has been to point at an interesting possibility without ever thinking it could be made into a probability. Some expressions and images that first came as vague hints to an untold reality acquire a fuller meaning in the scene of the girl's death. Fate decided that I should never perform the last duty to my father or my mother, nay, a pious and virtuous woman. Instead of doing this duty of mine, I sated arrogant fate with tears, being called Satya by my father Everestus, who had never been wretched until the moment when, on a day wicked fate had chosen for me to be overly charming to my husband, I passed away from our crew bedroom after an onset of disease. The third section, verses 12 to 16, with its two apostrophes and messages of a rather common sort, is smoothly but not very tightly connected to the previous. And I beseech you, my life's companion, to feel sorry that my virginity, which was about to become full of beauty, now lies overcome by the sleep of death. And may it once cover your own ashes with gold. And I remind you too, my parents, no one can break fate's law. This division appears to be the underlying factor when it comes to the form of the epitaph. The most salient formal feature of it is the sporadic appearance of pentameter lines in a composition consisting mainly of hexameters. The pentameter lines are verse 2, verse 14, verse 16. This phenomenon occurs in quite a number of epitaphs and is usually attributable to the author's inability to compose proper elegiacs. In our epitaph, however, the pentameters do not seem to come theoretically. It rather looks as if the first section was composed in elegiacs and the second in hexameters, while in the third section, each of the two pentameters marks the finale of its own message. The whole scheme is alien to the classical canons of verse composition, but I still do not believe that the author simply wanted to write elegiacs throughout, but could not do it properly. On the contrary, I think that the pentameters were used on purpose. To conclude, in many aspects, including vocabulary, grammar, versification, and even invention, our epitaph clearly deviates from classical literary usage. Yet, there are palpable limits to this deviation. The author obviously knew some good poetry and was relatively skillful in putting his models into use. To claim that he composed his little poem in the style of the Augustan poets, as Sir used to claim, may be an overstatement. But it would be even more wrong to think of our epitaph as a prime example of ineptitude set in stone. If nothing else, it represents a coherent whole. The segmentation is logical, the first-person strategy is consistently carried out, and as far as one can see, some ingenuity was invested in the arrangement of the conventional data. No reader accustomed to Latin literary text can help recalling how much poetry was superior to this and how far. But the comparison is unfair. The testimony of Latin epigraphy reminds us that the scale of literary and sub-literary value and achievement was longer than we usually assume, and there are a great many epitaphs which by any fair measure must rank inferior to this one. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this beautiful, I wouldn't say lecture, I would say rather journey. And I think this even more than the examples that we heard yesterday can be a proper example in which we can use and exploit all the ways in which our project wants to touch the audience that doesn't have any knowledge of Latin or epigraphy, because it's so there are so many human values and emotional moments that I would invite the other participants to share their impressions or ideas. I see Elena.
Yes, well, I didn't raise my hand yet. I thought that maybe someone else wants to say something first, but never mind. If yeah, I can tell something if that's okay.
Go ahead, yeah. Please.
Well, I was thinking all this morning, of course, and about while I was listening to this, of course, beautiful presentation, that actually this approach is from where we have to start in our storytelling, because the stories from the epigraphic monuments cannot be told to the wider audience if we don't tell them first, to ourselves, and they have to be explored widely. And actually, that's why the expression is to find out the story that lies behind something. I like that expression in the English language, that the story lies behind. What's the story that lies behind? Because it is the history. So you really have to explore and interpret the inscription, which is of course sometimes a very complicated thing, and to reach the all, different angles and hidden points to try to reconstruct, and then you can tell all different stories, so that the wider audience will understand them. But yeah, this is, I think, the aspect from which we have to start, So, and also I was thinking that, this is the grounds on which we can invite the audience to ask the questions, and then that's how we can involve it into the story. And of course, to participate in the reconstruction in some way. That's my thinking at the moment. So there are many ideas, of course.
Yes, but that was the idea behind all this, because there is to engage the public, it's like cream on top, and you have to do the groundwork. So this is the this is the approach that we have to go. This is the sort of a workflow. Just as you right as you said, explain it to us ourselves, and then explore the story, explore what can be interesting. I was thinking while listening to everything that Professor Nedeljković said, I saw a dozen of ways in which someone can be, and even someone that doesn't know anything about these things can be drawn to the content of a monument. Does anyone else want to share thoughts? Okay. I thought of maybe proposing that after the workshop, we may all consider some of the aspects and think about different ways in which, because this is something that would be part of our project, to think of the ways in which we can exploit a story. And maybe this would be an example that we can use as a sort of as an experiment to think of ideas in which the story behind an inscription can be developed and used as a part of a storytelling. For example, sort of as a quiz, as something that you taught yesterday when asked, how do you feel? I don't remember exactly how was the question, but you said, I imagine a puzzle, and someone else said, so what buzzwords come to you when you think of how can we use storytelling? And that's something that I would be interested in starting a dialogue within the project, in how, in which ways we can develop different storytelling methods. So this was just something to leave you with. So if there are no more questions, I would like to thank again Professor Vojna Nedeljković. And I would like to announce our next presentation, Jelena Savić, who will present Vikendium, or a series of workshops held at the Theological High School of Belgrade, and the very engaging and interesting things they've been doing with epigraphic heritage with school children. Hi, Elena.
Hello, good afternoon to you all. I'm new here. I've never done any online conference before, and I'm not a scientist. I work as a high school teacher of classics. I work at Philological High School in Belgrade. And I wanted to present you some manifestations that we started to organize some 6 years ago, that we hold usually once a year, sometimes twice. It depends on that, whether we have enough means to organize them. We usually call them weekendium because they are held on weekends, usually on Saturdays. And they last for about 4.5 to 5 hours and usually have one topic. Last year, 2023, and the year before, we had 2 weekendiums, or better say weekendia, dedicated to epigraphic themes. So I will share my presentation and will try to be as quick as possible. So those manifestations are, I'm sorry. Okay. Those manifestations are dedicated to high school students primarily. Usually we ask not only students for our school to participate, but from other schools that share the common interest. In the first place, Karlovačka Gymnazija, that is also a philological high school. And the number of participants is around 30 to 35, and maybe 5 or 6 teachers. Last year, the theme was Pompeian wall inscriptions. And that manifestation consisted of 2 introductory, so to say, lectures and a workshop afterwards. Usually, most of the students have not heard much about the topics that we are discussing. So we need to have those introductory lectures, and we try to make them as interesting as possible and as interactive as possible. Last year, the first introductory lecture was about the city itself, about the history and the eruption of the Vesuvius and the position of the city and the monuments that were preserved from there. And the other one was dedicated to epigraphic monuments, to inscriptions on the walls. So the idea was to show them as many pictures as possible. For example, this one, and to give them all along the facsimiles, and to explain to them the shapes of the letters, and to read those inscriptions with them, and to translate them into Serbian. I chose just this one because I like it the most, but there were so many of them. While introducing students to those inscriptions, we try to give them some technical terms so that some enthusiasts, maybe with more interest, try to learn something more about that. And we had such cases. So that is why I gave this slide with those 2 different types of inscriptions, dipinti and graffiti. when we choose the inscriptions, when we chose them, we try to choose those different ones that can tell different things about the city and about the society and about everyday life. So they are maybe not mostly relevant for science. Maybe they are not maybe the best examples of the inscriptions, but they can give the picture of various aspects of life. And that's the main thing, because I found that those things are most appealing to the high school students. For example, this one, Kirkinaios hic habitat, because it gives an information about the tenants. This one, Otiosis locus hic non est disque demorator. Just to see that as we today are not satisfied with the noise from the cafes below our windows, maybe there were similar problems in that city of Pompeii 2,000 years ago. This one, concerning maybe the hygiene of the city. So these are the things and the places where we can where we can widen our stories about the city. We can use those inscriptions to talk, for example, this one, to talk about public toilets and public baths and the problems, because it's obvious that not all of them were using it. If I recall, well, this inscription is close to one of the city gates, probably a secluded spot where one can, when one could do his thing without being noticed. Also, this one, for example, that gives us information about the proprietor of the building, Marci Iuni Insula Sum. This one about probably the goods to be purchased. So you can talk with the students about the food they consumed. This one, just merry inscription where one person gives his regards to his friend. And here,
due to the course of the Lampedusa River, what is extraordinary about?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Okay.
What is
from this one in particular, we can this one we can use to talk about some occupations that various people held. This one is just an inscription, neo hic fuit, maybe some tourists that spent some time, a day or two, or maybe just a few hours in the city of Pompeii. And for example, this one, Suspirium puellarum celadus strikes, because gladiators, this is obviously mentioned, here is obviously mentioned one sort of gladiator. And these people were some sort of celebrities in their own time. So many students, especially male ones, like to hear about these things. Obviously, this one as a Suspirium puellarum was one that attracted a great attention amongst the girls. And after those introductory lectures, we gave students some facsimiles. These are only a few. Here, there were more of them. They would choose 4, maybe 5 of them and they would have they were obliged to work in groups, and they had to try to read those inscriptions with the help, of course, of a document that gives them the shapes, some possible shapes of letters. This is one example of such a document. Although they had the opportunity to learn something about those shapes and some particular ones. For example, the letter B that looks so unusual for us. In one of the introductory lectures, those things were explained to them too. And that was the end of that workshop. A few days later, after this weekendium, one of the students, one girl, you can see her in the picture here, decided to organize another presentation for her fellow students. She gathered a group of maybe 50 students and some teachers, and she chose some of the inscriptions that she liked the most and prepared one presentation that lasted for 45 minutes. She decided to teach her fellow students to read some of the letters. Maybe, I'm not sure if you can see here on the right side, the table. She wrote shapes of specific letters and explained to them how they what they are and how they were made. And then she asked them to read together with her those inscriptions, and they were really enthusiastic about it. It was a great success because they all wanted to participate, and I can tell you that they were really good at it. They were able, with a little help of hers, to read almost any inscription that she showed to them. And of course, she helped some of them to translate something. Some of them could translate something on their own. But they were all quite satisfied with this. The weekendium the year before had another topic in 2022. The topic were curse tables. This is a topic that is interesting to very many students because it turned out that practicing of magic is not unknown to them. They like to inform themselves about these things, and that's why they wanted to hear something about it during the ancient times. Introductory notes were made, introductory lectures about those practicing those magic practices in Greek and Roman culture, and they were introduced to those usually lead tables with various curses that were preserved in various parts of Europe. So we chose just a few of them. The pictures were not, the pictures that we could provide were not so good, so we mostly gave them facsimiles to be able to see better the shapes of the letters, and chose a few of them, 4 or 5, as representative models for the topics that were used in those curses. This one you can see is I gave here the here it is. Okay, I gave the English translation. I asked the spirits of the dead and the infernal gods that Marius Fronto, enemy of Sextus, be untrustworthy and not be able to speak against Sextus. Thus Fronto is made mute when he will approach the consular legate. Thus he is mute and not be able to speak or to do anything, just as nothing is bound to those below. It's obviously some a curse table against an opponent in the court. And after the presentation about the magical practices and about the curse tables, we had a workshop where they could make their own curse. So we made a few patterns. This one is in the case of theft. So they could invoke a certain god, because during the lecture explaining the content of the tables, we mentioned some deities that were typically invoked in those curses. So they could choose here the deity they would like to have as their protector, their helper. And you see, they had to just fill in some parts of the table, so that would be more easy for them to write a curse on their own. Domine, the name of the deity. Tibi Dono, the name of the thief who stole, and now the thing that had been stolen. Take him or his, now some part of the body or the whole life. And then again, an invocation of the god. Another one example, for example, is the case of a scorn lover or someone that loves in vain. So he wants to enchant someone to make him fall in love with him. And here again, they invoke an almighty deity who should force him or her to give himself or herself to the person that is writing the table, curse table. Take his sleep or health or peace and quiet or joy until he comes to me. Make him forget his or her, make her forget his family or her father or his or her spouse, and make him out of his mind, make him mad about me, make him long for me, and so on, and make it right now, this moment, yum yum, quito quito, I want it all and I want it now. In order to be able to write those curse tables, we again gave them another table with various letter shapes that were found on various curse tables. And they were obliged to write them down, but not on a paper. We managed to find, I will show you that, my camera is fixed to my computer, so I can't move her. I can bring this thing right in front of the camera so you can see it better. This is a piece of aluminum, like that one that is used in the kitchen, but it's more thick. And yet again, it's soft enough so that you can fold it just as those curse tables, flat tables could have been folded. And they're soft enough so that you can easily write letters on them. And it can easily be done again by a kitchen utensil that's a meat stick made of wood. So you can maybe see how I will write down something, for example, letter A this way, or letter me. I can't see well. I hope you can see it well. And here you can see, maybe not. Okay, this way you can see it. I managed to write down the letters. So that was the final task to do. And this is how they did it, with the help of that one of those tables with letter forms. And in the end, we had a great result. I chose some of the tables to present it to you here. I hope you can see it well. It's funny, one of the students asked that his table is recorded upside down, because he said it could have more effect if it's held that way. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. I try to be as quick as possible, and I hope you liked it. It's nothing revolutionary, of course. I suppose that you have already heard of such type of workshops, but I just wanted to give this small contribution from our high schools to the study of epigraphy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jelena, and thank you for being with us today and for presenting this. And I do think it's really special, and it's not something that happens. It's something that perhaps happens a lot abroad, but this is one of the unique events in Serbia, at least. So, and it's the most striking thing for me was how they loved the work they've been doing, and about the presentation given by the students who voluntarily wanted to teach others, to teach other children, to present it to the professors. So it really does matter. It is really
yes, it does. I was delighted.
Impressions.
I was delighted, especially because she did it almost all her own. I just helped her a bit, but nothing much. So I was really impressed, and I was impressed also with the enthusiasm of those other students who listened to her. So it was wonderful.
And I see a lot of students in the photo. I see a lot of students. So there is an interest in this type of workshop. There is.
Yes, there is, but because of the means, we usually can't organize for too many students. It's 30 to 35, not more, at one time.
Great. Thank you again. Elena, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to add that it is really a wonderful example. And it to remind us actually that the type of inscriptions that we use to attract the audience also matters, because obviously the graffiti and these curse tablets are something that can find more easily parallels in our modern lives. I presume that the students were able to quote graffiti that matched the
of course
from their surroundings very easily.
Yes.
And that's amazing. I mean, and of course the cursing, it's always, unfortunately or fortunately, humanly, but very popular.
Yes, very, very much.
activity that people can connect to that easily. But of course, that can be motivation to learn Latin. I think we should
is.
include exercises. That's what we planned to include activities like this in that digital manual that we intend to prepare for our project. We could, of course, include all sorts of educational activities or examples or suggestions. So yeah, these are all excellent ideas.
Yes, and also the
Thank you for
material
sharing
that
this with us.
the material that Jelena showed, how they had instructions to write their own curses, for example. This is a perfect example of how it can be, the epigraphic topics can be used in the Latin classes, for example.
Yes, but when we were organizing that, we just made a web search and found some other similar ways of engaging pupils. In this particular case, we found 2 such examples in French schools. It was very interesting. Because that's why I said it's nothing revolutionary, obviously. Obviously, many other people came to that same idea. But here in Serbia, we were the first ones that started this type of manifestations, and the first one to try to show something from the field of epigraphy to the high school students, because that's the thing that is not in the school curriculum, and they usually don't have any knowledge of it during the whole their high school, their schooling in high school. And yesterday, I listened to Vasilka. She was talking about the importance of telling the story. So I had that in mind when I made the presentation. I put in that slide about the various examples from wall inscriptions in Pompeii, just in order to tell that we had that in mind, to try to, through those various examples, to cover as wide field as possible, and to tell those things from different angles and about different aspects of ancient culture.
Great.
And that's all. I'm no longer.
Thanks a lot. Does anyone have a question? Okay, if
I may.
okay, sorry, Valerie, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I only want to commend this method of teaching. For me, it's not everyday method of it's big deal. And I only hope that also the teachers in our country will follow this example. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. It is not possible to engage it in everyday lessons, but from time to time it is. That's why we arranged it this way, so that among other things, that we know that on Saturday there will come only the students that are really, really interested in those things. So I'm happy to see so many students that are ready to come to school on Saturday just to listen about something so unfamiliar to them and so new. So thank you again.
Okay, great. Jelena, thank you so much. And now I announce the second Jelena that will be speaking today, and this is the member of our Prometheus project, Jelena Vukojevic.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Jelena. So, as I announced a couple of times your presentation, so you may just take over.
Okay, thank you. I am here to discuss the activities involving Latin inscriptions at Collegium Carolivicano. So my presentation will involve several short videos that help illustrate said activities. So I will now share my screen. Just give me a moment. So I hope you can see it. Okay. Firstly, for those unfamiliar, Collegium Carolivicanum is an annual summer school dedicated to classical languages and tradition. It is the school's primary goal, the interpretation and transmission of classical heritage by enhancing knowledge of ancient inscriptions and the classical languages that embody them. As mentioned previously, all classes, lectures, and other activities are conducted in Latin, continuing the long-standing tradition of Latin as the language of intellectual pursuits and as lingua franca. The school is intended for high school students, university students, teachers, regardless of their proficiency in Latin or other classical languages. The unique format of the summer school, where all activities from classes to free time activities, workshops, and some informal communication are conducted in Latin, effectively enhances existing language skills. This approach facilitates a natural and meaningful integration of both passive and active language knowledge. As a part of the school's program, all participants attend a Latin language course divided into two groups, beginner and advanced. In addition, students are offered elective courses, including classical Greek, Old Church Slavonic, Biblical Hebrew, and even classical Chinese. Every year, the school also organizes regular drama and music workshops. In the drama workshop, participants prepare an adaptation of an ancient comedy, while in the music workshop, they prepare several songs in Latin from various eras. At the end of each summer school, the final event showcases the results of both workshops to the participants and the audience. Furthermore, participants have the opportunity to attend guest lectures on other old languages such as Sanskrit, Persian, Gothic, Old English, and others. Last year marked the introduction of classes specifically focused on reading and understanding Latin inscriptions. These sessions provided students with an overview of various inscription types, their materials, physical characteristics, purpose, and their contemporary significance in terms of the information they convey. The classes also covered how inscriptions were made, by whom, their origin, and the language conventions used, highlighting some key formulae commonly found in votive or funerary inscriptions. Participants also had the opportunity to familiarize themselves with common symbols or sigla, such as those denoting centurions or Roman money, to explore ligatures commonly found in inscriptions, and were introduced to the widespread use of abbreviations. They also received a list of the most frequently used abbreviations, and the remaining lectures were dedicated to reading inscriptions. With guidance, they decoded the abbreviations, formulas, and the text itself. Upon explaining the contents of the inscriptions, we discussed the individuals mentioned, their profession, family background, and speculated on their lives. They showed great enthusiasm during this segment, particularly as we explored inscriptions featuring professions such as ear doctors, queen's hairdresser, gladiators, and even Emperor Nero's caregiver. Now I would like to present a brief excerpt from one of our classes, showcasing the process of reading the inscription. So I hope that you will be able to hear it well.
We don't hear anything.
Oh, sorry. I'll try to. I think that it can be louder, but I will provide you with the link to our YouTube channel so that you will be able to find this even in longer version of this video. So basically, I can guide you to the video. We asked some student to be the volunteer and read what he or she can see on the screen. And if they have trouble with some lettering or abbreviations, I am there to help them. Also, when we encounter some words that maybe they don't know, such as here we had speculatores, I also explained what it is about, but what do speculators do? Okay, I'm really sorry that you can't hear this well. Okay, so to continue, for the last 2 years, our school has been held in Sremska Mitrovica, or ancient Sirmium, renowned for its rich cultural heritage and a significant collection of inscriptions housed in its museum and lapidarium. We were fortunate and grateful for the cooperation of museum officials who allowed us to visit it on multiple occasions and allowed some classes to take place within the museum itself. This unique opportunity enabled students to directly engage with real inscriptions on actual stones, applying their classroom knowledge in a practical setting. This is primarily achieved by reading inscriptions exhibited in the museum, and these short clips, which I really hope you can hear, will give you an idea of what it looked like. So can you maybe hear this one?
Eci viva meme memoria memoria ado adomo inerotem inte inderantem adixtem ad to je ad x dexter interior ero fortuna et fixilenium
Okay, I hope you heard that. So to enhance the interaction with inscriptions, I divide some assignments in form of a game, basically. I created symbolic representations of inscription fields, of inscriptions found in lapidarium, and redacted parts of the text. Here you can see how some of these assignments looked like. Students grouped into teams were challenged to identify the inscriptions based on clues provided by the redacted text and to fill in the gaps with text found on stone. When they succeeded, we read and interpreted the whole inscription together as in classroom. This activity sparked great interest, with some students even requesting additional tasks, fostering lively interaction among themselves and with the inscriptions. Additionally, I introduced a more relaxed game resembling bingo, so to say, where students used cards or rather tables with specific requirements that could be fulfilled by finding information on the exhibited inscriptions. Here you can see how those cards look like, and below are the assignments that were finished by the students. So once again, to fulfill the task they were given, they had to interact with the inscriptions, and they really excelled at this game, successfully identifying elements such as formulas, sigla, ligatures, names of deities and officials, language characteristics, etc. Also, thanks to a guest lecture by our wonderful host Dragana the year before, participants enjoyed another immersive experience involving inscriptions. During our visit to the lapidarium, she demonstrated how to create squeezes from monuments and explained their significant contribution to studying inscriptions. Thanks to her guidance, participants were able to create their own squeezes. And here you can observe the process and view some of the successful squeezes made. Also, I can show you another brief video to further illustrate the whole procedure. So the culmination of our lessons occurred on the last day of school when students crafted their own inscriptions. They were given the freedom to choose the type, whether votive, funerary, etc., and dedicated to anyone or anything. A real person, mythological or historical figure, a deity, or an abstract concept. Using their newfound skills and insights gained from observing actual inscriptions, they created and illustrated their chosen inscriptions. And here you can see what they created. So this interactive and immersive approach not only deepened their understanding, but also fostered a stronger connection with the material, making the study of Latin inscriptions memorable and learning experience. Moving forward, we will continue to innovate our program, firmly believing that immersive and active learning, including hands-on projects similar to these, effectively integrates the study of Latin and other ancient languages with an appreciation for tradition. I believe that this approach also represents an ideal method for young people to engage with cultural heritage, grasp its significance, and advocate for its preservation. By engaging directly with inscriptions and artifacts from antiquity, they can look past the physical artifacts themselves and encounter the lives and stories of those who came before them, thus enriching their overall experience. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jelena, for this great presentation. I really enjoyed it. And let me say, these games where the conclusion of the presentation is something that we really like to hear again and again and highlight, because I think this game with replicating inscriptions and compiling this is really a plus in the whole engaging story. So great work, and congratulations. It's really, it's obvious how the students of the summer school enjoyed and immersed themselves into this topic. I would just like to ask you to tell us something more about the reactions, different reactions of the students
Yes, I
to
mean,
these games.
it was obvious while they were doing these activities that they enjoyed, and especially they, even after the 2 days we spent in Lapidarium, they also came to me to ask if they were going again on the 3rd day. So I think that they really like this because they can actually, I don't know, feel better connection with those persons while looking at the real inscriptions rather than on projector. But we also know that the classroom firstly is really necessary for them to gain
course.
basic insights. So I'm really glad they liked this, and especially they enjoyed making their own inscriptions, and they even made some inscriptions for themselves or fictional characters, or they decided to invent a person and his life and then make the inscription. Unfortunately, I don't have that inscription with me because they wanted to take it home, but they really showed great enthusiasm.
Great. Questions, anyone? Or comments?
If I may, I want something to comment.
Yeah, sure, Philip, go ahead.
I thank Jelena for this wonderful presentation, but also thank to all other lecturers. In the context of yesterday's discussion about the word, about the text, the logos, and in the context of today's lectures regarding the workshops, I want to comment on something and see what others think about that. All day yesterday I was thinking whether only the logos, the word, can be enough for storytelling to reach the goal, the audience. I think that it would be achievable if we put social networks, medias aside. That is, if we talk about classical lectures or guiding through archaeological sites, as were the examples here at this workshop. Besides all things, games, drawings, stories, methods, techniques that we use, maybe we should think about training and preparing good speakers, good orators. Because as Angela said yesterday, half of the visitors' positive impressions were towards the guides. Of course, it's valuable to have a good story and know what exactly to present. But we must not neglect how we present it. I would just like to point out that perhaps the most important thing is the speaker's orator's ability to convey the story more than anything else. I have attended lectures where the speaker or orator knew how to get the maximum, the most of really boring story. Maybe we should focus on that when we want to present our project stories in the schools or other such events. That's all I had to say.
Great, thank you, Philip. Anyone else?
Well, I just wanted to add that, of course, to thanks Jelena for presenting this experience of the workshop with us. I think this is that kind of heritage education that when Vasilka yesterday in her presentation mentioned that you need to put the audience in a situation to use, for the 5 senses to feel something. This is that type of actually of heritage education, that it is of course always more influential than when you just sit in a room, you know, and in an artificial let's say environment and look at something you know, in the monitors or in pictures. Now with the inscriptions, the good thing is that you have the museums and you have the opportunity to go there and, you know, read at the text as it is in 3 dimensions, you know, or even better if it is at the archaeological site. So I think we are lucky who live in our southeastern European and Balkan countries, which we have that kind of heritage, and our cities and villages are actually full of that. And the teachers could exploit these opportunities more often, because once you bring the students in that kind of environment, you can teach them about different sorts of stuffs. And yeah, the students always like to do things that involve hands-on, you know, and when they can be able to create something and see the result instantly. I have conducted similar workshops for the linear B, which of course it's impossible to conduct that kind of workshop in a museum because we don't have that kind of heritage. But even in the classrooms, yeah, the students always enjoy to learn in 45 minutes how to write and recognize the syllabary, and then just create their own tablets on a clay, you know, on a piece of clay, and that's very engaging always. But with the Latin and Greek inscriptions, I think it's even easier because you can always take the students to the museums, and I think that's the preferable way. Now, for our project, of course, we will have to rely on the digital technologies, because that's what we will have on you know, on to work with. But the resources that we will create will be available for heritage educators and interpreters to use them in situations like this one. So yeah, it's of course a wonderful experience, and it's good to see always such examples.
Just give me a sec. I'm so sorry. Technological failure, my battery went out. So, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, great. So yes, and I just wanted to add, yeah, this is not just that we want with this project to go and do much of the practicing as much as it will be fun, but we want to create resources for the others to use, and for sort of a hub for all types of professionals dealing with ancient heritage. So this is one possible way we can direction we can work in to create such materials that can be used by high school teachers and guides and stuff like that. And now, when speaking of digital devices, so this is a perfect opportunity to introduce the presentation that Professor Dimitar Iliev will give, and it's about a really cool Facebook page that's really a resource doing all these things for quite some time. And I thought it would be very important to also include this in this workshop, because it's a great part of heritage storytelling and a resource that really focuses on our region here. So, Mitko, go ahead.
Thank you, Dragana. I'm really glad to be here, and it's been really interesting 2 days, and hope this will stimulate us to go further with our storytelling platform that we are about to create. And it is not, I have to say, it is not only me who will be presenting, but also Ralica Ivanova, who is the collaborator of our project and also the Prometheus project, and quite appropriately works together with all the rest of the people from the dissemination team. And I will just introduce you to the idea of the Facebook page, Digital Epigraphy in Southeastern Europe. And then it will be her who will give you examples of stories. So I will make my screen bigger, and then I'll probably share of particular ways we are handling stories. So without further ado, let me just, okay, hope you see my screen. So as you know, we have some digital epigraphy projects going on in Sofia, the most developed of which is the Telamon project, the Telamon collection of the Greek inscriptions from Bulgaria. And while working on it, we decided that it is a good opportunity to be able also to present monuments which are encoded for the purposes of the Telamon project, and also monuments that we are going to include in the Telamon collection, even if they're not currently present on our page, to engage in our work and to advertise our work on social media, Facebook in particular, and raise the awareness and raise the interest of the general public and of our fellow researchers as much as possible on the monuments that we're dealing with, and their features, and all the interesting stories that these monuments could tell. But when we decided creating our webpage, we decided there's more to it than just advertising the Telamon project. Although inter alia we're still trying to do this, we include a monument from Telamon every now and then that we have encoded, provided that we find it interesting and we find it relevant for the moment in which we are sharing it, because we're also pay attention to current events and things like that, which Ralica will tell you more. So it is really a nice opportunity to share via social media to our audience. We have built already a small audience consisting not only of fellow researchers, but also from representatives of the general public, which take interest in ancient inscription and ancient monuments. So every now and then we try to increase the traffic to our website by showcasing a separate page of a particular inscription, but there's more to it. We decided that this is a good opportunity not only to advertise Telamon, but to raise awareness about and interest in epigraphic heritage in general. What it's about, how it is dealt with, how it is researched, how it's published, and what interesting things it can tell us, what interesting insights it can provide into the everyday life of the people who lived thousands of years ago, who sometimes, which sometimes are not present in other types of sources about antiquity, such as the literary sources. Also, this is a good opportunity to create a national as well as international audience for the representation of this of the presentation of this epigraphic heritage, and we have built a stable following, both on national and international level, and also some pages, similar pages with which we are connected, and we sometimes post and repost content from them, such as, of course, among them, as of late, is the Prometheus project Facebook page, and also pages like the Facebook pages of the EpiDoc community, the Facebook pages of Epigraph Info, the Facebook pages of also people interested in the Facebook groups of people interested in, say, Roman archaeology or ancient history and things like that. So we have created a stable following, which could gain some interesting information about particular inscriptions that we are describing in our weekly posts. We're trying to present interesting monuments in an engaging way, in a way which could provoke the interests of the general audience, and not only of specialists in ancient history, classical languages, or epigraphy. And among that, we're not only posting about interesting monuments that we come across, we're also trying to disseminate related events, interesting collections, new sites that might be of interest to the audience of our Facebook page, different institutions which deal with epigraphic cultural heritage, etc., etc. Of course, when you go to the beginning of our Facebook page, which we'll show you shortly, you will see that we have also provided information about this event. Oops, sorry, is there something going on? Yeah, well, you're seeing my slides, aren't you? Okay. And we decided that it should have a regional focus. As the Telamon collection has a very regional focus, it's ancient Greek inscriptions found in Bulgaria. We decided that the epigraphic heritage of Bulgaria, of our neighboring countries, and of the whole region of Southeastern Europe is a good way to start to raise awareness and to show also international audience from coming from other parts of the world, because we don't have only following from the region, we have following also from other parts of Europe, the United States, and maybe beyond, to showcase what our region, our countries have to offer in this respect. And yes, what we do, we create a posting schedule. We decide how many times we will post this particular week, at what times of the day are also most suitable for engaging the attention of the Facebook audience. We're also trying to keep up with the calendar and the current events that are happening in our countries and in the world, in order to possibly link the content of what we're trying to present to, say, particular holidays or things like that. And maybe the most important part is to browse for resources, about interesting monuments that we deem relevant and engaging, and also presented in a good scholarly manner, on which we can count. We can count the information that we find is accurate, is scholarly exhaustive. The readings of the texts are good, and the translations which are provided to these texts are adequate. The English translations of them, because we're we're building the content of our page in English, so we're searching for English language resources mainly. And when we find something interesting, and we have the resources on which to draw and which to quote, we're trying to create a posting with a nice story written in an interesting way, which we write and proofread together, and provide with the relevant pictures that we can use to illustrate the story of our monument. And then we do the posting itself, which happens once to twice a week. We try to follow also the popular hashtag in related pages, which is Epigraphy Tuesday. So we do our best to make at least one of our posts, one of our weekly posts on Tuesday, because this is an initiative which has been going on by pages such as Epigraphy Info and Epidoc. And also we're following the feedback that our posts then receive. Maybe somebody comments on our posts, and sometimes the comments are also very interesting. They point our attention to other inscriptions or other things which might be relevant to the inscriptions that we have posted. Maybe we received some likes and some shares by people who don't follow our webpage, and we then invite them to follow us, and we see the reach of our posts, and we see which users of the Facebook and which other pages have our posts have reached, and we try to further engage with them and recommend to them other content that might be relevant. And yes, now I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'll give the word to Ralica, who will walk you through our webpage, to which at the end I will give the link, and I will invite you all to, provided that you have Facebook accounts, of course, to follow and subscribe.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate you and thank you for your interesting and exciting presentations for the last 2 days. So my task now is to present the Facebook page itself. So let me share my screen. Okay. Damn it.
As you can see here, we should maybe just close your chat.
Yeah,
No?
just a moment. I'm sorry for this.
No problem. But yeah, as you can see, the first thing that pops is the advertisement for this workshop on our page.
Yes. So this is how our page looks. As Dr. Iliev mentioned, we make a post once or twice a week, and we try to be consistent with that so that we don't lose the interest of the audience. As he mentioned already, we make posts about events, about projects, about technological advancement in this field of science in digital epigraphy, but most of all we make posts about inscriptions in scientific popular style, which is I dare to say very successful in communicating this information with the mass audience and specialists as well. So now I'm going to show you some inscriptions in order to tell you about the different kinds of posts that we make. First, there are the storytelling posts. As you know, every inscription tells a story, and most of the time our task is to unravel it and share it with the audience in a comprehensive, informative, and interesting manner. The story could be about a person, a place, an item, a historical event, or historical processes, or a mixture of any of these and others. So in addition to representing the inscription and its translation, we would also like, and we do this every time, we give additional information on notable historical, social, artistic, cultural, or linguistic topics related to the particular monument in order to place it in some kind of rich context. An important thing when creating the posts is to keep in mind of the media we're using, Facebook. So we just really have to not make them too long and stick to the point in order to not get carried away and make them repelling to our readers in a way. Okay, so first I'm going to show you the storytelling posts. This is a post, sorry, excuse me, I cannot control this message popping thing. This is the story, a person post about Thessaloniki, the sister of Alexander the Great and the daughter of Philip II. This is a base for her statue found in the city of Thessaloniki. So we had a chance here to, I'm sorry for this, to tell the audience about her persona, about her history, about her role in the story of Alexander the Great as well, and also to comment on the fact that she gave her name to the city of Thessaloniki, and that this is still a fact to this day, more than 2,500 years in the future. Oops, sorry. So another example of a storytelling post is storytelling of when we tell a story of a place. This is a border stone marking the territories of the Roman colony Deutum near to Burgas region in Bulgaria. So we have, it's a short post just introducing the location, and we have just told who founded it, when, why. As you can see, we mentioned which legio was situated there. And here, in addition to this clear image that we had, we have included maps as to give a general idea where this city, this colony was. Here is a map of Bulgaria, and this is a closer map of the Burgas region. Okay. This is actually a very good way to introduce Spot, because later on our page we have made other posts about artifacts from the Utrum. So for anyone who follows our page closely and who has read this post, later on he can easily, the person can easily make the connection of where a certain artifact is coming from. Okay, so next we can also tell the story of an item. And here we have this beautiful, beautiful shoe sole from Constantinople. It's
sorry, just to interrupt. I have to raise the awareness to the fact that digital epigraphy does not imply necessarily ancient epigraphy, as you see in this case, and as you will see. Also, so sorry to interrupt, but
it's okay.
Yeah, here you see an early Byzantine artifact, which is very interesting. So, sorry to interrupt, Lalitza, yes, can you?
Yes, okay, thank you, Mitko. So this shoe show is from Constantinople, modern Istanbul, and it's a pretty rare kind of an artifact because it's made of a non-durable material. So here in the text, we are commenting on the practice of inscribing shoe soles, and we're making some parallels with modern customs in the Balkans and some historical evidences of in Islamic sources of this practice. But we had a chance to say more about the location of this find. It was found in the harbor of Theodosios, here on the coast of the Marmara Sea. And this harbor nowadays is silted due to the course of the Lycus River. And this is the reason exactly why we have this artifact, because it was in the mud, and so it was preserved for us. This was some very curious information for our readers, and we have provided maps of Constantinople and modern-day Istanbul and how it looks now, and also of the excavations of the metro station there, which were the event that provoked the finding of this shoe. So sometimes we have posts that are more like numerous posts on the same topic, and then we take advantage of this and we make series of posts on the same topic. Here I will show you two related posts about the Dacian Wars. The first one is about Tabula Traiana, which is on the bank of the Danube, on the Serbian side, in the, I think, Đerdap Gorge, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see we have a long introduction. Well, not so long, but we have a full introduction of the times and the events that took place when this monument was erected. And then we start to discuss the monument itself, and we comment on well, the monument is about this road that was carved into the gorge. This really this technological process that took a lot of efforts on the part of the builders, and we have provided a lot of illustrative material once again. You can see here. This is also the inscription. Sometimes when the inscription is too long, we put it on a separate illustration. So we have provided maps, and here are some illustrations of the process. And we also had a chance to put some historical photos, because this is how our story concludes here, that right now this pathway is underwater due to the Iron Gate 1 hydroelectric power station that was built in the 1972. And this is really useful information for anyone who would like to go and see it, because the road itself cannot be seen nowadays, but you can still read the inscription, because it was raised above water, 22 meters higher, but due to the efforts of the Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts. Okay. So another type of storytelling posts we make are the cultural practice posts here. Sorry, I forgot the second post. This is the second post from the series for the Dacian Wars, and you can see how we introduced it. Remember when we told you about the Tabula Traiana? Now we're going to continue this story. And this is the monument of Tiberius Claudius Maximus, who was a Roman soldier, eminent Roman soldier, and he was the one to capture King Decebalus, the king, sorry. Yes, King Decebalus, who was Trajan's opponent in the Dacian Wars. So Yeah, here we're giving a lot of information about the military career of Tiberius Claudius Maximus because we had this occasion. This is really educational. We're giving an example of advancement in the military career, but we're also concluding the story about Decebalus and Trajanus, and this is how these two posts are connected to one another. Okay, so the next example is the post for cultural practice. This is anatomical votive offerings. As you can see, this is a really interesting picture of a votive offering from the temple of Zeus Hypsistus on the Athenian hill Nix. Here, our focus is not only on introducing the religious practice itself, but also we had the chance to say a few words about the place of this temple, the Athenian Hill Nix, and to tell the story of it, like that they're famous people, famous historical figures who made their speeches there in classical Athens, and that later on it lost its political significance, and probably that is when it gained religious significance with exactly the presence of this temple of Zeus. So as you can see, we're commenting on additional information that we think that our audience would find interesting, and that would help them to understand better the significance of the inscriptions, the relics, and the times. Besides the storytelling in inscription posts, we also make an effort to create educational posts because we want to aid any students of epigraphy in a really practical way. So now I'm going to show you this post. It's actually a series of posts that we made in which we explored some of the letters dropped from the ancient Greek alphabet and their usage longevity in different local Greek alphabets. Here, this post is about Koppa and San, and we have given out the main information about the usage of the two letters and their longevity. And here we have included their depictions on mainly ceramics, but also by exception on numismatic evidence, since they were really symbolic for the city representations. Okay. Yes, here we have a ring. Oh. And these kind of posts give us an opportunity to create another more intended as a more interactive type of posts. Those are the curiosity and game posts. So this is a challenge that we posted to our audience with this black figure amphora. It was posted after finishing our Lost Letter series and after we made a couple of posts on the Corinthian alphabet. And here we're asking our viewers to identify the depicted scene, the polis, and the time period of the vessel's origin, which in my opinion was a really fun challenge. But unfortunately, it seems like we don't yet have a lot of students in our audience. So it didn't actually provoke as much interest as we would have liked to. So this is one of our future goals, to try to attract more students, to try to provoke more discussions and make more interactive posts like this, and maybe other similar ideas. Now I'm going to switch to the another category of posts that we're making. Those are the holiday or celebrational posts. We constantly make an effort to find occasions for our posts which are relevant to everyday life, to our present modern everyday life. And one way to do this, we use the World Day Off category. Here we're sharing a post about World Theatre Day, introducing this tomb monument funerary inscription of the actor Leburna. He was Magister Mimariorum at Sisak, Croatia. So we have provided also a map and translation with some theatrical masks. And this post was really popular when we shared it, because many people were happy to and intrigued to find out that this is the theatrical profession is so long-lived, and that it's still surviving today, even though we know that theaters have sometimes difficulties attracting the audience in comparison to some other media like cinema or movie and games, for example. Yes. So this is one way to use the World Day of something. Another way is to use religion holidays as an occasion to post. And here is an example of a post we made last year around Easter holidays. This is a fresco from the Byzantine church Cora in Constantinople. And it shows the traditional scene of harrowing of hell. So here we're basically using the inscription to give some more insight into exactly what are we celebrating on Easter, and to introduce this traditional scene to our audience. And now I would like to mention the two most popular type of posts that we are that achieve the most success with our audience. The first one is when we make a parallel with modern day events. So, for example, this is a post about a group of ostraka found in a well in Athens with the Themistocles name. There are more than 190 of them, and they were obviously prepared to be distributed amongst the illiterate and undecided voters in voting in an ostracism voting. So here we are explaining what this procedure is. We're mentioning, of course, we're giving information about the eminent figure of Themistocles, but the most exciting thing about us was that we posted this exactly before election day in Bulgaria in 2022. So, and we spread it amongst our friends, and it gained great success amongst the mass audience. Another type of really successful post, and the last one that I'm going to show you, is the post about magic and mystery. As you know, many people are interested in Basque because they believe that there is this mystery and this magical rituals and riddles and stuff like that. So here we introduced an amulet from the Ultim in Bulgaria. It's a magical amulet. It's loaded with magic of the numbers, and with this image of rooster with snake legs. it's the stones used are also of some significance, but here we, as representatives of science, we had to mention that even though the inscription says help me in everything, unfortunately, it obviously didn't help the bearer of this amulet, who was a young woman. The amulet was found in her grave, and she actually died at a pretty young age. So I think these posts are a pretty good example of exactly how we're trying to engage our audience, and we're trying to make it more interesting, and to show to show really exciting examples of epigraphy. Of course, we also show a lot of funeral inscriptions, which are more common, but we really make an effort to find something interesting, and also always to have these really good images, and to add additional information, not only in factology, but also by providing maps, and even sometimes we provide images of historical figures, for example, statues, and yes, maybe I think that's all. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you will check out our page and like it and follow it, and share any post that you might like with your Facebook friends and community, as we're hoping to gain more followers, and especially more students who would be the ones to benefit the most of our work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Ralica, and thanks.
Just like to conclude that I will share now the link to our website, if I may share my screen.
Yes, please.
Yes.
How do I stop
Yes,
sharing?
I will just like to raise your attention to the fact that, okay.
Sorry, but how do I stop sharing the screen? I forgot.
You have,
Yes.
yeah.
No.
You have a little red
Did I do it?
thing saying stop sharing.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes. No problem. I just like to give you the link. And yeah, to thank you all for the attention. I don't know if you're seeing my screen now. Okay, this is it. So go and subscribe. I will also copy it to the chat, perhaps. And yes, I would like to add to the yeah, you have it. To what Ralica last said, that the post about the magical amulet was made exactly on the 31st of October, which is also, of course, not by chance. So this is perhaps why also why it went viral. And also to say, in addition, that as you can see, we're not only working with typical epigraphic monuments, but also with instrumentum domesticum, pottery, and whatever, every text-bearing object on which we can get our hands on. So yeah, thank you. And now maybe questions and comments. We would like very much to hear the feedback from you.
Yeah, I think the comments can be only positive, and since I'm following the page for a long time, I'm really familiar with what you're doing. But I have to say, seeing it like you presented here, your plan, how you organize, how you divide topics to make certain dynamics of the page is really great, and it's really something that a person can learn from. So great job, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
I also have only commending praise. Good job, really. Good job.
thank you.
I'm proud with
Thank you.
I'm proud with you.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to add that we are lucky to have Ralica on our project communication and dissemination team, and she already shared part of these experiences and knowledge from your work on your own Facebook page on the Facebook page and the social media work that we are doing for the project. So she already made two magnificent posts in that manner as you do it on your Facebook page, and hopefully the others will follow the example in the following months. It is really, I think the social media offered the good opportunity to engage with the audience in this way. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think, which aspects of this engagement with the audience can be implemented or exploited on the actual web page with the digital collection of the inscriptions that we will make for our project? How much of this do you think could be implemented? Like, could you ask the audience to do something with the inscriptions, on which is posted on a web page? How functional would be that?
Well, maybe a repost from the web page to social media will be more interactive. But yes, as Ralica said, we're still struggling to make people. Well, it's easier to get the attention of the people and like they follow and they like you than to provoke their reaction. If you ask them to do something, they may not engage in doing it, or they're just scrolling, and they really have to be motivated in order to stop and try to take their time to answer or something like this. So maybe this is something that we all have to think about. But yes, it's an interesting maybe, I don't know, maybe we should, I don't know, hire some media marketing experts, or I don't know, how do you make people interact with your content, not only presenting it to them? But yeah, we're trying. We're still trying, and we will see. We will see, but it's probably if we have something like this on our website, and then when we repost it as a link from our website. Well, Facebook has made it hard lately to share links, so we will see. Maybe on other platforms such as Instagram it will be easier. We post a link to a content that we have created and try to provoke reaction on the social media to the link that we have posted, something like this. But how exactly we will be successful in this, I have no idea, to be frank. I don't know, maybe Ralica has an idea, but really.
I agree that we need to find a more interactive approach, and I think we can achieve this in some kind of, let's say, by introducing games, but not only post games, but I think this is a matter which requires more programming skills. So it's up to us to comment on it and to figure out how technologically it could work for us. But I think that there are many possibilities to explore, and this is just another goal for us in the future. For now, we just wanted to kickstart it, to gain audience, and this is one of our future aims, and we're yet to decide exactly how to approach this task. Yes, this is all I can say for now. Thanks.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you to all our presenters. Thank you to all the people that have been following us, whether on Zoom or on YouTube. And I may say that I really hope that we'll, even though that we'll fulfilled our formal obligations to the project, we may have some other additional events because I see a lot of topics that we can share and discuss and meet more often. this is all that we have prepared for today. And do expect a survey collecting thoughts and ideas that you might want to share with the project. And that would be all for today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all your hard work as a host of this event.
For this excellent hosting. Thank you, Dragana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. Excellent hosting. Thank you all, and have a good day. See you
Have a
soon.
good day. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. To all.